Hello, my name is Margaret Adele, and welcome to another indie book review. This is me majorly stepping out of my comfort zone here because I am reviewing Burn Up in Victory by Jennifer R. Donahue. This is an enemies to lovers romantasy, which I don't think I've ever read one before, but Jennifer R. Donahue is one of my auto yes authors. I barely even look at the synopsis when they send me an email anymore. I think I would have to sit down and do like a formal check. I think I've read like 10 different books from this author now. I think this one put me into the double digits. So when they said, hey, enemies to lovers romantasy, I was like, okay, sure, we'll try. This is set in kind of alternate history, Renaissance Italy, where everyone is basically just constantly dueling. Dueling is considered a regular part of social interactions for everyone, men and women, and I do believe there is a non-binary character among our main cast, and it is just considered something that you should always be prepared to do in case anyone ever insults you or your family. Now, for the longest time, our protagonist, Serafina, was basically not blocked from all that, but protected to a certain extent. Her older brother knew she didn't like it, so he didn't push her to get involved and kind of took his role as the family heir seriously enough that her parents could kind of just forget about her, honestly. But then he goes and elopes with a girl from a theater company, and it's a whole big to-do. She was an indentured servant, and someone else disappeared at the same time, and it's a big scandal on their family. So Serafina has to step forward and essentially be the new heir with all the dueling stuff to essentially bring honor back to the family name. Now that means that she has to join her brother's dueling circle, because these are technically fairly loose group of friends, but they are like considered a cohesive unit when it comes to dueling. If there are tournaments, your entire circle will be considered a single unit, and how well you do as a whole can reflect on everyone in the circle. So it's a big deal to do well in these, not just for her sake, but for all of these new friends, aka her brother's old friends, except there's one of her brother's old friends that just hates the sight of her like so much. Lorenzo, it's implied, was like had more than just familial love for Marco, and this is a queer norm book. There are other queer characters. I don't think it is queer norm to the extent that there are like queer marriages, but it is well understood that, you know, like people got same-sex lovers and nobody cares. But he hates Serafina for the crime of not being Marco. And this was kind of my first hint that this wasn't really enemies to lovers. That's what the author told me it was, and I believe that's what it is called online. But this is it. It's a bully romance. Lorenzo despises her for the crime of not being her brother, and she doesn't really develop many negative feelings towards him until he starts essentially tormenting her. Like, societal niceties dictate that it is her place to join this dueling circle in lieu of her brother being there, but he doesn't really want her there. He just can't formally say no. So he's basically just being a dick to her to like make up for that fact that he has to say yes, even as everybody else is like, dude, what the fuck? Like, he gets called out by his friends so often to the extent that he can tell when she hasn't told them about a thing he's done to her because they aren't scolding him for it. Like, that's how bad it gets and how much everyone else recognizes that this isn't okay. But Serafina doesn't really have an option to do otherwise. Her mother is abusive, emotionally abusive, and she basically has to work and has to, quote, advance her spark. In all honesty, I am not very sure in the magic system of this book, because while the dueling ins and outs and the social mores were so well fleshed out and so well understood, the magic system, way less. Everybody more or less has a spark, at least in the upper echelons, and you mostly in this world just use it to assist your dueling. It's not really considered like its own thing. Most people just use it in tournaments and in that kind of thing to help them get faster or to heal after an injury. There are a couple big like accidental injuries, although most dueling isn't meant to be to the death. And there's some concept of advancing. It seems completely random, and I do know at one point the narrative kind of hints that they're being kept in the dark on purpose. Like, the actual people at the top running the city are kind of shady figures to everyone else, and they're not really giving a lot of information about their own magic, but it doesn't really do much more than that, and I wish there was more, even just speculation, like, oh, I heard so-and-so advanced by doing this, because beyond that, you can kind of get the gist that doing really well in a duel can advance your spark, but also things like, I think at one point, having sex for the first time. advances the spark and like that kind of thing. I wish there was a little bit more like of an idea of what could advance the spark. I get that they aren't told things very specifically, but like you gotta have at least some idea if you're living in this world, right? And it was just very strange because, again, the dueling system was like so well thought out. It had so much detail. Like you could tell, okay, this is the kind of situation that would lead to a duel, and here are the kind of rules, here are the standards. You know, this one, oh, we're only doing it to first touch or third touch. This one, it's first blood or third blood. And when you are doing it to blood, it is well understood that you will not cut someone on their face, right? Because that's considered a step too far, too insulting. If you're gonna nick someone, you need to nick anywhere else. That kind of thing. Or not having dueling gloves is considered a big faux pas. Like there were so many little social mores that were explained in the dueling side, and I really feel like the author probably had more fun with that. Whereas honestly, the spark side just kind of felt like a plot convenience. Like, oh, we need to be able to heal people when these big accidental injuries occur and not much else. Or I think at one point, Spark does save a character's life in a different way, but like it just felt more like a plot contrivance than its own world setup. The world in general is a little bit strange in that, but I won't go too far into that because I want to talk about the romance. I knew going into this that I was probably going to struggle with it. I don't like enemies to lovers, and I especially don't like bully romances at all. I am the kind of person where I am very slow to ever claim that I genuinely hate someone, okay? But when I do, it's fucking for life. Like that's it, we're done. And honestly, I mean, part of it is I just can't imagine ever having like a legit enemy in the modern day. But again, this isn't enemies to lovers, it's a bully romance. And I fully expected Lorenzo to have some kind of, growth over the course of the story, but it was really stop and start. Like, for a very, very long time, he was unshakable in his hatred for Serafina. Just straight up, everyone is like, hey, dude, knock it the fuck off. This isn't okay. We see what you're doing. He doesn't care. Doesn't care. A thing happens that I can't explain for spoilery reasons. And suddenly he's like, oh, no, wait, I have been too hard on her. Mind you, this is like weeks to months in the chronology of the story. And okay, so now then he spends this little bit of chunk of time, oh, I have been terrible to her. Crap, my bad. And then another big plot thing happens, and suddenly he's in love with her, running up and kissing her. And I'm like, It's almost as if this is one of the few books, I can't think I've ever said this ever, about a book where I think this would have benefited more from being a single POV, because if you didn't have his head, you could almost build the growth in your own head, right? Like if you were only reading from Serafina's point of view, you could read a lot of the moments as, oh, that little twinge means he's starting to thaw towards her or whatever. But because you are in his head, where he is thinking about how little he cares for her, you don't have that willing suspension of disbelief. And so the final jump to, oh no, wait, JK, I love her now. Like, it was such a, like, nothing, jump. And then, okay, we're here, jump. And I wish there'd been more growth. And honestly, now that I was thinking about it after the fact, I realized I don't think romance was a big deal in any of Donahue's other books. Not that they didn't have them, but like, it was never the point of the story. Like in the sci-fi heist series, the men are just accessories. It is all about our trio of sci-fi thieves, and any of their lovers are just fun little add-ons, but not the point. So I don't know how much the author even wanted to do the romance focus, because it seems like she was so much more invested in the dueling buildup. And honestly, that was fun. Like, I was surprised how much I like just wanted to keep reading this. I think at one point I read over 250 pages in a day just because it was fun. And it read really quickly. The writing style flew a little bit. There was a rather surprising amount of typos, admittedly. Now, that could be my copy, but like there was enough where like I would occasionally have to stop and reread sentences and figure out that word was a typo type of deal. But again, I could have an early copy. Regardless, the romance and the fantasy, the romantasy honestly felt way underdeveloped compared to historic, like alternate history. Like honestly, I honestly think I would give this one more to fans of alternate history than I would to enemies to lovers romantasy. in all honesty, which is probably why I enjoyed it so much, because again, I don't like enemies to lovers romantasy, and I kind of just, accepted that they were going to get together. There were some very nice twists and reveals that I really liked. I still wish we had a little bit more with the magic system and the development of it and the explanations of it. I wish nearly half of the amount of work that went into explaining and building out the dueling system was put into other aspects of the world building. And again, I'm never going to be the biggest fan of any kind of animosity to love relationship, be it enemies to lovers or a bully romance, but this one, it just felt too much like a lurch forward. And for the most part, I'm not going to keep jumping into this genre. I mean, if one of my other auto-yes authors sends me another romantasy, I probably will say yes, let's be honest. But again, this is just kind of shown to me that it's not really any kind of genre that I need to go any further in between. I'll leave that to book talk. And with nothing else to say, I hope you have a wonderful day and a marvelous tomorrow.